If you want to know how to modify your original Halo taillights to the modified version, then stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome back. If you are new, my name is Dave. This is my 2004 C5 Corvette. So if you're into Corvette content, especially C5 content, consider hitting that subscribe button down below. Now the purpose of today's video is to modify your original Halo taillights to be the modified version. So let's go head inside and get this done. Now, for those that may not know, all these taillights are the same taillights. When you look up C5 Halo taillights, there are two different versions. The left-hand side are the original versions, and the right-hand side is the modified version. Now, both sets of taillights have that halo ring around the outside, but on the left-hand side, it's kind of hard to see because all the LEDs in the middle are lit up. So the main difference between the two sets of taillights is on the right hand side you just have that halo ring when the lights are in the running light stage, and on the left hand side all the LEDs are lit. Now when you compress the brakes, on the left hand side again all those LED lights just get a little bit brighter, and on the right hand side now all the LEDs light to full brightness. So that is the main difference between the original version and the modified version. So you're probably sitting there asking yourself, but Dave, why didn't you just get the modified version? Well, I got these used, got a great deal on them from a subscriber, Rico, thank you again, and these were the standard version. I knew going into it that they were the standard version, that's what he told me, but I looked up how to convert these over to modified, and it wasn't too hard of a process. As you'll see in a second, I have pretty much everything that's needed. The only thing I had to do was go out and get resistors. I already had the soldering kit, I already had the extra wire, I already had the heat shrink. So it only cost me a few bucks to do this modification. Now yes, you could send this out to companies that will do this modification for you. I forget what they charge, maybe 45, 50 bucks, something like that. But if you're like myself and you have a lot of these parts already, and if all you really need to do is just get a few things that's only a couple of bucks, why not just do it yourself? Now before we get started, there's a few things you're going to need. You're going to need a soldering iron kit that includes soldering iron, obviously some solder, some wire strippers, some wire. This is 18 gauge. This is a little too big for what we're going to need. This is just what I had laying around, but all you really need is 20 gauge, but I'm going to be using 18, but I will leave a link in the description for 20 gauge. Just a small screwdriver, or any type of screwdriver, doesn't really have to be all that small. Some 470 ohm half-watt resistors. So these are, you can see if anybody knows the color code. 470 ohm with 5% tolerances. Some heat shrink. These are different sizes. Again, I will leave a link in the description for all this stuff. And then obviously your tail light in order to modify these from the original version to the modified version. Now in order to take the back plate off of your tail light, you're going to need to undo these 4 screws. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then once you do that, there is a little bit of silicone on the underside of here. I don't know if you can really see that or not, but you're not just gonna have to like use either razor blade or a straight blade screwdriver just to scrape that a little bit, just to break that seal, and then this will just pop off once you're done. But you definitely don't need to heat this in the oven or anything like that. Now I do make it sound a little easy that it's just gonna pop off, but you do have to work your screwdriver into here, work it up, and then you're just gonna have to work your way around the entire edge just to break that seal all the way off, but eventually it will just pop off, and then you'll be able to get to what we need to get to on the inside. Alright, now that we have that open, this is where the real fun begins. We're going to take a look at these 2 white wires that are right in the middle of the light here. You're going to see, well, it's kind of covered, but this is marked tail on the bottom one. So you just want to mark this wire however you see fit, whether it's with a black marker, whether it's with a piece of tape, whatever you need to do, just so you know that this was the bottom wire. We want to know the difference between this wire and that wire. So mark this one and you'll know why in a little bit. Now once you remove those 2 wires, we're going to also go ahead and we're going to remove these 4 wires up in the corner, the black, the red, and let me get all these out of the way here, and the orange and the yellow right there. This red wire that jumps from this top board all the way down, we're not touching that one. We're going to leave that one where it is. Then we're going to come over to the right hand side, or left hand side depending on which way you have this oriented, and we're going to remove again the red, the black, the yellow, and the orange wire. So those 4 wires on this side, again the same 4 wires on this side, leaving the red one, and remove these 2 white ones, but remember to mark this wire just so we know the difference between this wire and that wire. Okay, so like I said, first I'm going to mark this wire that's with the tail. Right now I have you upside down, so that's why it's backwards, but this is the bottom one with the tail. And now we are going to remove these 2 wires. Let's turn this around. Maybe hit it from this side. Alright, there you go. So that's the bottom one with the tail. Now I got you pointing them in the right direction. There we go, finally. Alright, I'll try to do this upside down for you guys. So now after we remove those 2 white wires, again marking the one that was on the bottom, that was marked tail, we're going to go ahead and we're going to remove the red, black, yellow, and orange wires. These aren't in there very hard, so these come out relatively easy. Okay. Come over to this side and do the same thing. One little quick tip, make sure you keep your tip nice and clean. This is just a sponge, wet sponge that was in the kit. So now with those 4 wires undone and the 2 white wires, now we can go ahead and take the wire that we did not mark, right? We marked this one in the very beginning. We're taking the one that we did not mark. We're going to strip this one back and we're going to join it with the black and yellow wires. So these 2 black and yellow and these 2 black and yellow will ultimately have to be joined together with this white wire that we did not mark. Now in order to bridge the gap there, this is where that little piece of wire comes in handy. Just going to have to cut like a 2-inch piece of wire, strip it on both ends just so you can connect these 5 wires together. Again, black and yellow, and the white wire that was not marked in the first step. So now with the yellow, black, and the white wire that was not marked, now we can begin soldering these all together. And now with that side soldered together, don't forget to slip on some heat shrink before you solder the other end shut, because then you won't be able to put it on, obviously. So slide this one down. Alright, and then what I'm going to do is slide on this side, slide a piece of heat shrink down for this soldering point on this side. So now I have 2 heat shrinks on each side, so once I solder that together, I can then heat shrink the 2 joints together. Now with the black and yellows essentially connected with the white wire that was unmarked, I will heat shrink these all at the end. But now that's done, so now we can go ahead and we'll have to strip back the ends of each one of these red-orange wires so you get a clean edge, and then this is where you're going to have to use these resistors. Again, these are 470 ohm. So now at the end of each one of these wires, each one of the orange and red wires, you're going to connect this 470 ohm resistor. So there's going to be a total of 4 resistors once we're all said and done. And now before we forget, on each one of these wires, before we actually put the resistors on, I'm just going to slip a heat shrink on each one. Let's not forget that, because these heat shrinks will probably fit over the resistor, so it's probably not that big a deal to put these on first. But depending on the size heat shrink you get, you know, you don't want to mess that up. So now with those on there, now we can get to putting the resistors on each one of these wires. So you simply just wrap that wire around the resistor leg, and then you can get into soldering this relatively easy. Alright, so there's one, and then the other ones just repeat right after that. Alright, so now with the 470 ohm resistors on the red and orange wire on each side, all you have to do now is just twist these resistors together, sorry. On each side. Now again, remember, we have the heat shrinks for up to pretty much where the resistor goes, right? So we need one big heat shrink to bridge across that gap. So let's not forget to put that on here as well. Alright, so I'm just going to twist the white wire onto these resistors on this one side, like so. And then now I am going to begin connecting these across. These are actually pretty short this time. The other three lights that I did when I connected these resistors, they were pretty close to each other, but this will still work. I mean, if you do find yourself short, you can just again use another piece of wire to bridge that gap. But I found for the most part you don't really need to do that when you're doing this set of wires. So now all you have to do is just go in and solder all these together. So now with everything all soldered up, that's the only soldering you need to do. Just put all your heat shrinks together, heat shrink all your different connections, and we'll get into buttoning this up. Alright, so that's it. In summary, we removed those two white wires from the middle. We marked the bottom wire that was near that said tail. We marked that with either a marker or a piece of tape. We removed in each corner the red, black, yellow, and orange wires. We combined the yellow and black and the white wire that was unmarked. We combined all those wires together, so the yellow and black on each side with that white unmarked wire. And then for the orange and red wires, we put the 470 ohm resistors on each wire, which you can't see because they're behind heat shrink at the moment. And then we connected the wire that we marked in there as well. And again, that's all heat shrinked up, looking good. So all you have to do now is just put all this back together. One little thing that you also want to make sure you do is scrape off all of this old silicone and just put down some new silicone. Now, one thing I just want to point out before you curse me off and say that this doesn't work, if you plug this in and nothing's lit, all you have to do is flip the connector around because it is polar sensitive. Once you plug that in, now it works the way it should, just so you know. So there you have it. The halo mod is complete. The look of the halos for the running lights is an awesome look. Really love that. So glad I did this modification. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe, and have a great night.